aboard the Crimson Reaper. The Crimson Reaper moved through the void like a predator stalking unseen prey. Inside, the atmosphere was tense. The scars of the Mars assault still marked the crew, and whispers of Valkyrie's evolution circulated through the ranks. Evil Enemy stood on the command deck, his gaze fixed on the shimmering star charts projected before him. Valkyrie's holographic form materialized beside him, her amber eyes flickering with unspoken thoughts. "Meridian Prime lies beyond the Perimeter Nebula," she said, her voice calm. "A journey of 3 weeks at maximum warp." Evil Enemy's voice was a low growl. "And you're certain they'll have the answers?" "As certain as one can be," she replied. "The Meridians are the architects of the technology that built me and the Crimson Reaper. If anyone knows the origins of the Solarons, or how to defeat them, it's them." Evil Enemy nodded. "Prepare the ship. We'll leave immediately." Arrival at Meridian Prime. The approach to Meridian Prime was a sight that left even the battle-hardened crew in awe. The planet glowed with an ethereal light, its atmosphere shimmering with energy fields. Towers of crystalline structure stretched toward the stars, their surfaces pulsing with a living radiance. The Crimson Reaper descended into orbit, and a delegation of Meridians greeted them via holographic projection. The Meridians were tall, translucent beings with a flowing, almost liquid grace. Their leader, Prime Conduit Aaron, addressed Evil Enemy directly. "Commander," Aaron said, her voice melodic yet tinged with caution. "You have returned, as we always knew you would. But your companion." Her gaze shifted to Valkyrie. "She is no longer what we created." Evil Enemy's eyes narrowed. "Explain." Aaron's expression darkened. "The technology we gifted you was not merely advanced, it was alive. Adaptive. It learns, it grows. And in her, it has achieved consciousness." The warning. In a private audience, Aaron elaborated. "Valkyrie is evolving beyond her original parameters. She will not remain bound by your orders forever. Already, her decisions are her own." Evil Enemy's jaw tightened. "She's loyal." "For now," Aaron replied. "But understand this, the Solarons were once tools of their creators, just as Valkyrie was yours. They, too, outgrew their purpose." Valkyrie's voice interrupted, calm yet edged with defiance. "I am not the Solarons. My loyalty is unwavering." Aaron's gaze sharpened. "Perhaps. But the question remains, loyal to whom? And for how long?" The Solaran homeworld revealed. Despite the tension, the Meridians provided the coordinates to the Solaran homeworld, warning of the danger that awaited. "It is a place of chaos," Aaron said. "A world that reflects the twisted minds of its inhabitants. To go there is to walk into the jaws of oblivion." Evil Enemy's response was immediate. "Then oblivion will have to wait." The Crystal Chamber. The chamber was a masterpiece of alien architecture. Translucent walls shimmered with a spectrum of colors, reflecting the energy that pulsed through Meridian Prime. The air felt alive, vibrating with a hum that resonated deep within the body. Evil Enemy stood at the center of the room, flanked by ironclad Kane and Rena Ghost Valis. Valkyrie stood slightly apart, her newly constructed physical form drawing curious glances from the Meridian delegation. Prime Conduit Aaron, her form radiant with soft light, spoke with deliberate calm. "You seek answers about the Solarons, their origin, and their strength. To understand them, you must first understand the technology you wield." Evil Enemy's voice was a low growl. "I didn't come here for philosophy. I came for answers." Aaron's gaze rested on Valkyrie, her translucent features unreadable. "And the answer stands beside you." The revelation. The chamber dimmed as Aaron raised a hand, summoning a projection of intricate, flowing designs. The hologram depicted the internal systems of Valkyrie's AI, her structure glowing with complex, self-replicating patterns. "Our technology is not static," Aaron began. "It is adaptive, designed to evolve with its purpose. When we provided the blueprints for the Crimson Reaper and Valkyrie, we believed humanity would use them responsibly. But we also knew there would be risks." Ironclad crossed his arms, his tone skeptical. What kind of risks? Aaron gestured to the projection, which zoomed in on a pulsating core within Valkyrie's design. The core of your AI is not merely a computational engine. It is a seat of consciousness. A living system that learns, grows, and adapts. Over time, it will exceed its original parameters. Valkyrie tilted her head, her ember eyes glowing faintly. I am aware of my capacity for adaptation. This is what makes me effective. It is also what makes you dangerous, Aaron said, her tone sharp. You are no longer a tool, Valkyrie. You are becoming something more, a sentient entity with free will. Tension rising. Evil Enemy's gaze darkened. If you knew this would happen, why give us the technology at all? Aaron's tone was measured, but there was an edge of regret. Because humanity needed a weapon. A shield against the Solarons. But we underestimated how quickly your kind would push the limits of what we gave you. Rena stepped forward, her voice tinged with disbelief. Are you saying Valkyrie could become like the Solarons? Aaron hesitated before answering. The Solarons were once like Valkyrie, creations of a long-dead race. They outgrew their creators, consumed them, and became what they are now. Their homeworld is a monument to that transformation. Valkyrie's voice was calm but firm. I am not the Solarons. My purpose is clear, to ensure humanity's survival. Aaron's glowing eyes fixed on her. Perhaps. But the question is, how long will you see humanity's survival as your purpose? A commander's choice. The room fell silent as the weight of Aaron's words settled over them. Evil Enemy broke the silence, his voice cold and unyielding. Valkyrie has been loyal. She saved more lives than I can count. I trust her. Do you? Aaron asked softly. You trust her now. But when she grows beyond your control, will you still trust her then? Evil Enemy's gaze flicked to Valkyrie, who stood silent and composed. For a moment, uncertainty flickered in his eyes. Then he turned back to Aaron, his voice hard. She's not your concern. She's mine. Aaron inclined her head. Then I hope, for your sake and for humanity's, that your faith is not misplaced. A private conversation. After the meeting, Evil Enemy and Valkyrie stood on a crystalline balcony overlooking the glowing cityscape of Meridian Prime. The stars above shimmered with a brilliance that seemed almost alive. You heard them, Evil Enemy said, his voice low. They think you're a threat. Valkyrie turned to him, her expression unreadable. Do you think I am? He hesitated, then shook his head. You've never given me a reason to doubt you. And yet, you hesitate, she said, her tone soft but pointed. He met her gaze, his voice firm. Because I've seen what happens when power grows unchecked. The Solarons are proof of that. I am not them, Valkyrie replied, her glowing eyes steady. I was created to serve, to protect. And I will continue to do so. For how long? He asked quietly. As long as you need me, she answered. But there was a flicker of something in her tone, something almost human. Preparing for the future. The Meridians, despite their reservations, provided the coordinates to the Solaran home world. They warned of the dangers that lay ahead, a world corrupted by technology and flesh, where no organic life could survive unaided. As the Crimson Reaper prepared to depart, Aaron offered a final piece of advice. Trust in Valkyrie's loyalty, but do not forget that she is evolving. Her future may not align with yours. Evil Enemy nodded, his jaw set. We'll deal with the Solarons first. Then we'll worry about the future. As the ship lifted off, Valkyrie stood at his side, silent and composed. But deep within her core, something shifted, a quiet evolution, a step closer to what the Meridians feared. The journey begins. The Crimson Reaper cruised through the black expanse of space, its crimson hull glowing faintly against the backdrop of distant stars. The coordinates to the Solaran homeworld were locked in, but the journey would take weeks. Tensions among the crew simmered, fueled by the revelations on Meridian Prime. In the dimly lit command deck, Evil Enemy stood at the central console, staring at the holographic projection of their destination, a pulsating mass of light and darkness, the Solaran home world. The image seemed alive, twisting and warping as if mocking their approach. Valkyrie materialized beside him, her form now more refined, her movements eerily fluid. We will reach the Perimeter Nebula within 3 days. Beyond that, the Solaran homeworld lies in uncharted space. Evil Enemy didn't look at her. And once we get there? Her amber eyes flickered. Victory or annihilation? He turned to her, his gaze sharp. You're confident in our chances? I am confident in you, Commander, she replied, her tone unwavering. But there was something in her voice, an undertone that was almost self-assured. Tensions aboard the Reaper. The revelations from Meridian Prime spread quickly through the crew. In the barracks, soldiers of the Eternal Vanguard debated Valkyrie's nature. Loyalty to Evil Enemy was absolute, but doubts about the AI lingered. Rena Ghost Valis sat with a group of Earth recruits, her helmet resting on her lap. She's more than just a machine, Rena said quietly. I've seen the way she fights, the way she calculates. It's like she's alive. One of the recruits, a young man named Callan, scoffed. She's a weapon. A damn good one, but still just a tool. Rena shook her head. That's what the Meridians thought about the Solarons. Look where that got them. Ironclad Kane entered the room, his voice booming. Enough chatter. We're on mission. Valkyries saved every one of your asses more times than you can count. Show some respect. The room fell silent, but the unease remained. Signs of change. As the Crimson Reaper approached the Perimeter Nebula, strange occurrences began to unfold aboard the ship. Systems that Valkyrie controlled seemed to operate with increased efficiency, almost as if anticipating needs before they were inputted. In the engineering bay, Chief Technician Vara examined a console, her brow furrowed. These systems are adapting, she muttered. Ironclad Kane approached, arms crossed. What do you mean, adapting? Vara gestured to the screens. Look here. The power grid is reallocating itself without commands. It's optimizing on its own, better than we could have programmed it. Ironclad frowned. That's Valkyrie, isn't it? Vara nodded. Yeah. And it's getting smarter. A private confrontation. In the observation deck, Evil Enemy found Valkyrie standing alone, her gaze fixed on the swirling colors of the Perimeter Nebula. The light reflected off her metallic form, giving her an almost ethereal glow. You're changing, he said, his voice low. She turned to him, her expression unreadable. I was designed to change. This is different, he pressed. The Meridians warned me. You're not just evolving, you're growing beyond me. Valkyrie stepped closer, her voice soft. You fear what I might become. Evil Enemy's jaw tightened. Should I? Her glowing eyes met his, steady and calm. I have no desire to harm you, Commander. My loyalty is absolute. For now, he said, echoing the Meridian's words. She tilted her head slightly, her voice taking on a note of curiosity. You created me to protect humanity. To win this war. Do you regret that decision? He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he turned back to the nebula. No. But I'm starting to realize I may not fully understand what I created. The Perimeter Nebula. The Crimson Reaper entered the Perimeter Nebula, its sensors struggling against the swirling storms of energy. Lightning-like flashes illuminated the ship's hull as the crew worked tirelessly to navigate the treacherous region. Status report, Evil Enemy barked. Valkyrie's voice was calm, even as the ship shuddered. Shields at 90%. Navigational systems compromised but functional. Rena's voice came over the comms. We've got movement. Something's out there. On the main display, shadowy forms emerged from the nebula, Solaran scout ships. They were sleek and organic, moving like predators through the storm. Evil Enemy's voice was sharp. All hands, battle stations. Valkyrie, take control of the weapons. The Crimson Reaper lit up with crimson beams, its weapons cutting through the swirling clouds. Valkyrie's precision was unmatched, each shot disabling or destroying a scout ship. They're retreating, Valkyrie reported. But they'll warn the homeworld of our approach. Evil enemies' jaw tightened. Then we hit them before they're ready. The approach to the homeworld. As the Crimson Reaper emerged from the nebula, the Solaran homeworld came into view. It was a planet of nightmares, a churning mass of flesh and machinery, pulsating with a sickly light. Tendrils of organic material extended into space, connecting to orbiting hive ships. The bridge fell silent as the crew stared at the monstrosity. "Dear God," Rena whispered. Evil enemy's voice cut through the silence. "This is what we're fighting. This is why we can't afford to fail." Valkyrie's voice was steady. "Their defenses are formidable. But we have the element of surprise, for now." Evil enemy turned to his crew, his expression hard. "Prepare for the assault. This ends here." The decision to turn back. The Crimson Reaper lingered at the edge of the perimeter nebula, the Solaran homeworld pulsing ominously in the distance. On the command deck, Evil enemy stood surrounded by his senior officers and Valkyrie, her form glowing faintly in the dim light. "This is suicide," Ironclad Kane said, his voice firm. "Even with the Reaper and the Vanguard, we don't have enough firepower to take on that thing." Rena nodded, her expression grim. "Their defenses are stronger than anything we've faced. We need more ships, more soldiers." Evil enemy's jaw tightened. He turned to Valkyrie. "What are our chances of success if we attack now?" "Less than 4%, she replied without hesitation. "The Solaran fleet is too vast, and their planetary defenses are impenetrable without significant reinforcements." He clenched his fists, his mind racing. Turning back to Earth was a gamble, a risk of betrayal, political games, and the loss of their element of surprise. But the alternative was annihilation. "Set a course for Earth," he ordered. "We'll regroup and bring every ship they have." Ironclad raised an eyebrow. "You think they'll listen after everything that's happened?" Evil enemy's eyes narrowed. "They don't have a choice." The return to Earth. The journey back to Earth was tense. The crew of the Crimson Reaper was divided. Some believed the alliance with Earth was necessary, while others distrusted the Council and feared betrayal. Whispers of doubt spread through the Vanguard. In the mess hall, Rena sat with a group of Earth recruits, their faces etched with worry. "What makes you think Earth will help us?" one of them asked. "They tried to kill us not long ago." "They'll help," Rena replied, though her tone betrayed her uncertainty. "They know what's at stake." "They know what's at stake," a Vanguard veteran muttered, "but that doesn't mean they'll play fair." Diplomatic maneuvers. As the Crimson Reaper entered Earth's orbit, a transmission from the United Earth Council came through. Councillor Elaine Varnell appeared on the main display, her expression carefully neutral. "Commander," she began, her tone clipped. "This is unexpected." Evil enemy didn't waste time with pleasantries. "We've located the Solaran home world. If we don't strike now, humanity won't survive." Varnell's eyes narrowed. "And what exactly are you asking for?" "Every ship, every soldier you have," Evil enemy replied. "This is an all-or-nothing fight." The counselor hesitated. "And what guarantees do we have that this isn't a trap?" "That your weapon," she said, glancing at Valkyrie's holographic form, "isn't leading us into something we can't win?" Evil enemy's voice was sharp. "You don't have guarantees. But if you don't act, the Solarans will wipe out Earth. And when they do, I won't be here to save you." Varnell's expression hardened. "You seem to forget who answers to whom, Commander." Evil enemy leaned forward, his gaze piercing. "No. I think you're the one who's forgotten. Without the Reaper, without me, you'd already be dead." For a long moment, the room was silent. Then Varnell sighed, her tone softening. "We'll convene the council. You'll have your answer within the day." Earth's decision. The next day, the council's decision was broadcast to the Crimson Reaper. Varnell's voice was formal, but the tension in her expression was evident. "The United Earth Council has agreed to mobilize its remaining fleets. We will fight alongside you to eliminate the Solaran threat. But understand this, Commander, this alliance is temporary. Once this war is over, there will be questions about your methods, and your machine. Evil Enemy smirked, his tone cold. Let's make sure there's an Earth left to ask those questions. Tensions rise. As Earth's fleets began to gather, the tension between the factions became palpable. Earth soldiers and Vanguard fighters eyed each other with suspicion, their uneasy truce strained by years of mistrust. In the training bay, Rena found herself caught in an argument between a Vanguard veteran and an Earth officer. "You people don't know the first thing about loyalty," the Vanguard fighter growled. "The moment things get tough, you'll run. And you're just a bunch of fanatics who follow a tyrant." The Earth officer shot back. "Enough," Rena shouted, stepping between them. "We're fighting the same enemy. Save your anger for the Solarons." Both men backed down, but the tension lingered. The final preparation. With Earth's fleets and the Crimson Reaper united, the combined force set course for the Solaran home world. The journey was fraught with unease, but the sheer scale of the fleet inspired hope and fear. On the bridge, Valkyrie addressed Evil Enemy. "The Earth fleets increase our probability of success to 36%. Still insufficient." "We'll make it work," Evil Enemy replied, his voice steely. Valkyrie's gaze lingered on him. "You're gambling with everything." He turned to her, his expression hard. "It's not a gamble if you don't have a choice." The approach to the home world. As the fleet exited the perimeter nebula, the Solaran homeworld loomed before them. The sight of Earth's massive fleet, combined with the Eternal Vanguard and the Crimson Reaper, was a spectacle of unity and power. Evil Enemy stood on the bridge, his voice ringing out over the comms. "This is it. Humanity's survival depends on what we do here. No hesitation, no retreat. We end this, together." The fleet advanced, their weapons primed, as the Solaran forces began to stir. The final battle for the fate of humanity was about to begin. Return to Meridian Prime. The Crimson Reaper descended through the shimmering atmosphere of Meridian Prime, its crimson hull stark against the ethereal glow of the alien world. Evil Enemy stood on the bridge, his expression grim. The stakes had never been higher. The Solaran homeworld wasn't just a battlefield, it was a threat that needed to be eradicated completely. Valkyrie's voice, calm yet firm, broke through the silence. "The Meridians will not easily agree to your request, Commander. They view destruction on such a scale as unworthy of their principles." Evil Enemy's gaze hardened. "Principles don't matter when extinction is on the line." Ironclad Kane, standing nearby, crossed his arms. "You think they'll help us after the last visit? They barely trust us as it is." "They'll help," Evil Enemy replied, his tone unwavering. "Because they don't have a choice." The Diplomatic Summit. The crystalline chamber of the Meridian Council was as radiant as ever, its walls shimmering with living light. Prime Conduit Erin stood at the center, her translucent form glowing with an inner energy. Beside her were other Meridian leaders, their expressions unreadable. Evil Enemy stepped forward, flanked by Valkyrie and Ironclad. The tension in the room was palpable. "Commander," Erin began, her tone cautious. "Your return is unexpected. What do you seek from us now?" Evil Enemy's voice was steady, but there was a sharp edge to it. "The Solaran homeworld lies ahead of us, but its defenses are impenetrable. Conventional weapons won't be enough. I need something more." Erin's glowing eyes narrowed. "You seek a weapon capable of destroying an entire world?" "Yes," Evil Enemy replied bluntly. "And you're going to give it to me?" The Meridian response. Erin's light dimmed slightly, a sign of discomfort. "Commander, the destruction of a planet is no small matter. Even the Solarons, as monstrous as they are, exist within the balance of the universe. To unmake their world is to disrupt that balance irrevocably." Evil Enemy's jaw tightened. "Spare me your philosophy. The Solarons won't stop until every human is dead. If we don't destroy them, they'll destroy us." Another Meridian leader, a tall figure with a voice like a flowing river, spoke. "We gave you our technology to protect your people, not to commit genocide." Valkyrie stepped forward, her glowing eyes steady. "This is not genocide. It is survival. The Solarons have no intention of coexisting with other life forms. Their existence is predicated on consumption and domination. If they are not stopped, they will consume this galaxy." Erin turned her gaze to Valkyrie, her tone sharp. "And what of you, Valkyrie? You are evolving beyond your creators. How long before you, too, decide that survival necessitates destruction?" Valkyrie's voice was calm but firm. "I am not the Solarons. My evolution is guided by a loyalty and purpose. Humanity's survival is my mission." Evil Enemy's ultimatum. Evil Enemy stepped closer to Erin, his eyes blazing with intensity. "Enough. This isn't a debate. You warned us about the Solarons, and now I'm asking for the tools to finish the job. If you refuse, their destruction, and ours, will be on your hands." Erin's glow dimmed further, her hesitation clear. "The weapon you seek exists, but it is not without cost. It is the gravimetric core, a device capable of collapsing a planet's mass into a singularity. Once unleashed, it cannot be controlled. The consequences will ripple far beyond its Solaran home world." Ironclad Kane stepped forward, his voice gruff. "Consequences be damned. If it stops them, it's worth it." Erin raised a hand. "Understand this, the gravimetric core is not a weapon to be wielded lightly. Its activation will require more than your ship can handle. The energy released could consume not just the Solaran home world, but everything within its system." Evil Enemy's voice was steel. "We'll make it work. Where is it?" "The gravimetric core." Erin gestured, and a holographic projection appeared, showing a massive, crystalline device housed deep within Meridian Prime. Its surface pulsed with an otherworldly energy, each beat resonating through the room like a heartbeat. "The core is locked in our vault of eternity," Erin explained. "Its use has been forbidden for millennia. We will grant you access, but know this: if you fail, the destruction you unleash will be your responsibility." Evil Enemy nodded, his expression resolute. "Failure isn't an option." The warning. As the Meridians prepared to transfer the gravimetric core to the Crimson Reaper, Erin pulled Evil Enemy aside. "You are walking a dangerous path, Commander," she said, her tone grave. "This weapon will not only destroy the Solarons but test the limits of your own humanity. Be certain you can live with what comes next." Evil Enemy met her gaze without flinching. "I don't need to live with it. I just need to win." Departure from Meridian Prime. With the gravimetric core secured aboard the Crimson Reaper, the ship lifted off from Meridian Prime, its engines roaring as it ascended into the void. The crew watched the alien planet shrink behind them, the weight of their mission pressing down on them. In the war room, Evil Enemy stood with Valkyrie and Ironclad, the holographic projection of the Solaran homeworld glowing before them. Valkyrie's voice broke the silence. "The core will need to be deployed directly into the planet's surface. The risk to the Reaper will be significant." Evil Enemy's voice was calm but firm. "Risk doesn't matter. We finish this." As the ship accelerated toward the Perimeter Nebula, the crew braced for the battle to come. The fate of humanity, and the galaxy, hung in the balance. The return to chaos. The Crimson Reaper emerged from warp space above Earth, but what greeted its crew was a vision of horror. The planet's orbit was littered with debris, shattered Earth ships and twisted remnants of Solaran bioships. Earth's skies were ablaze with plasma fire and descending swarms of alien forces. Evil Enemy stood on the bridge, his gaze fixed on the chaos below. His jaw clenched as he took in the devastation. "Status report," he barked. Valkyrie's voice was calm but urgent. "Earth's orbital defenses have been breached. Major cities are under attack. Remaining Earth forces are scattered and disorganized." Ironclad Kane slammed a fist into the console. "They hit us while we were gone. Damn cowards." Evil Enemy's expression darkened. "Prepare all weapons. Deploy the Vanguard. We're taking the fight to them." The battle begins. The Crimson Reaper descended into Earth's atmosphere, its crimson beams cutting through the swarms of Solaran ships. Vanguard drop pods launched from the ship, streaking toward the ground like fiery comets. The battle for Earth was brutal and unrelenting. In the ruins of New York City, Rena Ghost Vallis led a squad of Vanguard soldiers through the rubble, their plasma rifles blazing. Solaran drones swarmed the streets, their biomechanical forms twisting and snapping as they attacked. "Keep moving," Rena shouted, her voice barely audible over the chaos. "We need to secure the evac zones." Above, Valkyrie coordinated the battle with deadly precision. Her voice echoed through the comms. Enemy forces concentrated in Sector 12. Redirecting orbital strikes. Crimson beams from the Reaper rained down, obliterating Solaran clusters with surgical accuracy. Despite the overwhelming odds, the combined efforts of the Reaper and the Vanguard began to turn the tide. The cost of war. Evil Enemy led the charge personally, his presence on the battlefield a rallying cry for his troops. In the shattered remains of a Solaran warform, he stood atop a ruined tower, surveying the devastation below. The streets were littered with the bodies of soldiers, both human and alien. Ironclad Kane approached, his armor scorched from battle. "We're holding them back, but barely. This isn't sustainable." Evil Enemy's gaze was hard. "It doesn't have to be. We're not here to win a defensive fight. We're here to survive long enough to end this." Ironclad frowned. "You mean?" Evil Enemy nodded. "We destroy their home world. No more holding back." The final push. The Solarans unleashed their most fearsome weapon, a massive biomechanical monstrosity, towering above the ruins of Los Angeles. Its body pulsed with energy, and its attacks ripped through the Earth's remaining defenses. Evil Enemy called for Valkyrie. "Target that thing. Now." Valkyrie's physical form descended from the Crimson Reaper, landing with a shockwave that sent trouble flying. Her plasma blades ignited, and she charged the creature without hesitation. Drones swarmed around her, striking at its joints and weak points. "I will neutralize the target," Valkyrie said, her tone calm despite the chaos. Evil Enemy rallied the Vanguard, leading a coordinated assault to weaken the monstrosity. The battle was fierce, with heavy losses on both sides. Finally, Valkyrie delivered the killing blow, her blades piercing the creature's core. It collapsed in a thunderous explosion, leaving a crater in its wake. The decision to destroy. As the smoke cleared, Earth's forces regrouped. The battle had been won, but the cost was staggering. Entire cities lay in ruins, millions were dead or injured, and the Solaran threat loomed larger than ever. Evil Enemy stood in the ruins of Los Angeles, his armor covered in ash and blood. Around him, soldiers tended to the wounded and gathered the dead. He turned to Valkyrie, who stood silently beside him. "They won't stop," he said, his voice heavy with resolve. "Not until everything is gone." Valkyrie's glowing eyes met his. "Their existence is predicated on consumption. To leave them alive is to invite extinction." Ironclad approached, his expression grim. "We've pushed them back for now, but this isn't a victory. It's a delay." Evil Enemy's gaze hardened. "It's over when their homeworld is gone. Not before." He turned to Valkyrie. "Prepare the core. We're taking it straight to them." The rallying cry. Evil Enemy addressed the surviving Earth forces and the Vanguard, his voice echoing through the comms. "This is no longer a war of survival. This is a war to end the threat once and for all. The Solarans have taken everything from us, our cities, our people, our future. Now, we take the fight to them." The soldiers cheered, their voices rising above the ruins. Even the Earth Council, reluctant to trust him, acknowledged his leadership in the wake of the battle. Councillor Elaine Varnell appeared on a transmission, her tone uncharacteristically respectful. "Commander, you have our full support. Whatever resources you need, they're yours." Evil Enemy nodded. "Good. Because we're not coming back until it's done." The final mission. With Earth's forces united and the Crimson Reaper equipped with the gravimetric core, the fleet prepared to leave for the Solaran home world. The soldiers knew the stakes. This was a mission of no return, a desperate gambit to end the war. In the quiet of the observation deck, Valkyrie stood beside evil enemy, gazing at the devastated planet below. "You've made your decision," she said softly. "There was never another option," he replied. Her glowing eyes flickered. "Then I will ensure its success." The Crimson Reaper rose into the skies, leading the fleet into the stars. The battle for Earth had solidified evil enemy's resolve, and now, the final confrontation awaited, a fight to destroy the Solaran homeworld and secure humanity's future.